Today I've got a collection update for you where I'll be going over all the new titles I've picked up on Blu-ray and 4K over the last couple months. I've got a ton of titles to talk about today, so let's rock this bad boy. Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz. Got a great big haul video for you guys today. I usually do these collection updates every other month once I've accumulated enough titles to make it worthy of doing a video for you guys. And the last collection update video I did was back in the first week of December. We're well into February now, so I figured it's time for me to get on it. I believe I have over 30 titles to talk about today, but I will try to breeze through some of these fairly quickly just because there are so many titles. Plus, there are a few titles here I talked about in my 2023 year-end wrap-up video not too long ago, so I will probably try and keep my discussion of those titles to a minimum. Of course, keep in mind this is going to be a big update because it includes the month of December. Any collection updates that include the month of December are always going to be a little bit bigger than the average update that I might do throughout the rest of the year. Not only do we have Christmas and I get a lot of physical media for gifts, but my birthday is also in the month of December. So I'm usually loaded up quite a bit on new physical media releases every December. Now, before I get into my haul here, I just want to give a quick shout out to a new Fuzz Club member, Scott Staup. I hope I got the pronunciation right on the last name there. But Scott just became a new member of the Fuzz Club. Scott, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. It means the world to me. And I look forward to chatting with you more in comments or whatnot moving forward. And if any of you out there would like to know more about the Fuzz Club, there's a link in the description you can click on, or just click that join button below and it'll bring up all the membership information for you. Okay, so let's get into this haul. The way this usually works is I go through all my new Blu-ray pickups first. Then during the second half of the video, I go through all my new 4K pickups. So without any further ado, let's get right into this haul. All right, so first up, I've been on a bit of a Sho Kosugi kick recently. I really only discovered his work in just like the last 6 months or so. Some of you may remember from my previous collection update videos that a few months back, I picked up the Ninja trilogy, Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, and Ninja 3 Domination. And I enjoyed those so much that I found myself wanting more Sho Kosugi. So this time I picked up Black Eagle for my collection. Sho Kosugi and Jean-Claude Van Damme from MVD Rewind. And this is a great film. I really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. The only downside to this film is it didn't have any English subtitles. And unfortunately, Sho Kosugi's accent is so thick in this film that sometimes it's actually a little difficult to understand what he's saying, even though he's speaking in English, right? But aside from that, that was really my only complaint with this particular release was no English subtitles for some bizarre reason. But it's a cool release aside from that. I always love that they put these little mock VHS rental stickers on there. They try to make it look like an old VHS tape. Pretty cool stuff. So, but yeah, Black Eagle, it's a good Cold War action film, CIA action film. So, yeah, if you've never seen it, yeah, definitely check it out at some point. I also picked up Rage of Honor to go with my Pray for Death. A few months back, I had picked up Arrow's, in fact, do I have it here? Yeah. A few months ago, I picked up Arrow's Pray for Death, right? And they also put out Rage of Honor as almost like a companion Blu-ray. So I had to have both. Once I got Pray for Death, I was really into that, and I had to get Rage of Honor. So definitely pick this one up as well. I don't know if this is in print anymore, if either Pray for Death or Rage of Honor are actually in print. I got this from eBay, and it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't like crazy expensive either. So, but yeah, so if you're in the market for these, I don't know if you can actually find these as easily, but you should be able to find some copies on eBay at the very least. So yeah, Rage of Honor. Next up, I was really pleased to see that Arrow did a standard edition release of Empire of Screams. I missed out on the cool limited edition box set that came out earlier in the year last year. But when I found out they were doing a standard edition release, a more streamlined version, I just had to get it. Now, keep in mind, this is not a hard, chunky slipcase like the original one that it came in. This is actually pretty flimsy. It's just an oversized slip cover, and then but you do get all the same discs, all the same bonus features. You know, the actual content on disc is the same as what you would get in the limited edition version of this. You just don't get like the book and the nice rigid hard box. So this isn't quite as nice as the limited edition that came out, but the content's all the same, and that's good enough for me. I really just wanted these films, especially Dolls and Robot Jox, you know, because I've become a big fan of Stuart Gordon recently. So definitely had to get my hands on this. So yeah, I love this release. I'm just really happy that they did a wider release of Arrow's Enter the Video Store Empire of Screams. Yeah, just a great release all the way around, and maybe one of the best Blu-ray releases that Arrow put out last year. I mean, between this and the limited edition box. So I was really glad they did this. I hope they do more box sets along these lines with some other movies. That would be awesome. Next up, I have a newer film for you here, a 2023 horror film called Suitable Flesh, starring Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton. Apparently, and I haven't had a chance to watch this yet, it was actually Greg over at Fanseen Vids who did a review on this one, and I was so intrigued by his review that I went out and bought it right away. But I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I hear it's definitely got a lot of Stuart Gordon vibes and H.P. Lovecraft vibes. Apparently, this originally started out in the 90s as a Stuart Gordon film. It was directed by Joe Lynch, but originally it was something that was going to be done by Stuart Gordon and his screenwriter, what's his name, Dennis Paoli, I think. Those two started working on this together back in the 90s, and it just took forever for this to actually come to fruition. But apparently it's got some really heavy Stuart Gordon vibes in there, and I love Stuart Gordon, so I am looking forward to checking this out at some point. Can't say too much about it other than that. I've heard some good things about it, and it looked right up my alley. So, like I said, I'll look forward to checking this out at some point. I also picked up The Raid 1 and 2. I've never seen these films and haven't had a chance to watch them yet, but I've heard great things about these films, or at least the first one. People seem to talk these up quite a bit. So I am looking forward to seeing this. I can't really say too much about this because I don't know a whole lot about it, but I've heard other people talk about it, so I figured, you know, I should probably add this to the collection and see what all the hype is about with this film. So, and of course I buy this and then I find out like a week after I buy it that it's coming out on 4K. So, but whatever, you know, for something like this, I'm not sure if I even need it on 4K. I might be satisfied with the Blu-ray. So yeah, The Raid 1 and 2. I also picked up another film to add to my David Cronenberg collection, and that is A History of Violence. This is a great film with an awesome cast, of course. Viggo Mortensen, Ed Harris, William Hurt's in this, Maria Bello, who I love. And yeah, just a great film all the way around. You know, Cronenberg always does such interesting stuff, and so this was kind of a missing hole in my collection. I've been on kind of a Cronenberg kick lately, and this is one that I didn't have, and I remembered really liking the movie and thinking it was pretty well done. So yeah, had to add it to the collection. History of Violence. Back in December, I finally got my my copy of Invasion USA. I had this is an import, a German import, and I had ordered it and intended to talk about this during my Christmas action movies video, but I didn't quite get it in time to show it off. But I did finally receive it and was really happy to finally pick this one up. This is an action classic, Cannon Films, Chuck Norris. It's a great Christmas action film. And yeah, I think a lot of you probably are familiar with this one. But yeah, Invasion USA, had to pick it up. Had to get this in the collection. It is kind of a classic, isn't it? I also picked up some John Hughes films. I've always loved John Hughes' work, and there were a few holes in my collection there as well. I got the 5-movie collection, which includes Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller, She's Having a Baby, and Pretty in Pink, which was the big reason I got this particular set, as well as Some Kind of Wonderful, right? So this one's stacked. You got 5 classic John Hughes films here. I already had this other John Hughes set, the one with the Breakfast Club, Weird Science, and 16 Candles. But I wanted to kind of complete that collection by adding this one to the mix as well and get these other films in there. So, I mean, how much can we really say about John Hughes, right? Classic 80s comedies, teen comedies. I basically consider my John Hughes collection complete now. There's nothing else I would really need to get. I do have Weird Science on 4K, but that's probably the only 4K I would even buy of a John Hughes film. That's my favorite John Hughes film. But yeah, I just... I do consider my John Hughes collection complete now, having acquired this. Next up, I got a little Stallone for you. When I recently did my top 10 Stallone list, a number of you mentioned this title that I had never seen before, so I just had to pick it up. It came highly recommended, and that is Nighthawks. A lot of you really like this one, and for some reason, this one had just never really been on my radar. So I picked this one up, Stallone and Rutger Hauer. This was an awesome movie. I absolutely love this, and frankly, I probably would have added this somewhere in my top 10 if I had seen it before I did my top 10 Stallone list. So I just really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. Really good action crime drama with some great effects. And yeah, I don't know how much to say about it. It's a great film. And if you guys have never seen this Stallone flick, you definitely should check it out at some point. So yeah, Nighthawks. And then I picked up a classic sci-fi triple feature right here, covering the years 1971 to 1976. We've got Logan's Run, The Omega Man, and Soylent Green. You know, these are films that I didn't have any of these classics in my collection, but I've been meaning to pick them up for a while, so I finally broke down and did it. I think of these, Soylent Green is probably my favorite, but The Omega Man's pretty damn good too. Always love a little Charlton Heston. So yeah, and pretty good deal for that, you know, to get the three films in one pack. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it was not that expensive. It was under $20. So I was pretty happy about this. So yeah, Logan's Run, Omega Man, and Soylent Green in my classic 70s sci-fi triple pack. And then also had to add an essential title to my William Friedkin collection. Picked up The French Connection 1 and 2. Now these are the old, I think 2008 Blu-ray for the first film anyway. So not edited like we got from Criterion or Disney or whatnot. So yeah, great films. These are of course classics, especially the first one. I talked about this recently in my list of top 25 70s films, so I won't say too much here. So yeah, I love Gene Hackman. He's one of my probably top 10 favorite actors out there. I've always been a big Gene Hackman fan. And so yeah, classic stuff. French Connection 1 and 2. And now I have a John Carpenter film, one that I've actually been waiting for it to come out on 4K, and I just got tired of waiting, and that is Assault on Precinct 13. I finally broke down and picked up the Blu-ray. It's been bugging me that I haven't had this in my collection, but I know there was a 4K scan and restoration done by some company at some point. I just don't know what the status of that restoration is. It's never actually been released on disc. So I'm hoping that eventually this does get a 4K release, but in the meantime, I didn't want to wait any longer. Big John Carpenter fan here, so I had to put this bad boy in my collection. So yeah, Assault on Precinct 13, classic John Carpenter film from the 70s. I also finally got around to picking up The Edge, which I talked about in my video on survival movies back in December. This is such an awesome film. I finally had to break down and get it. I love Anthony Hopkins in this. Of course, Alec Baldwin is what you would expect him to be in this film. He's kind of a douche. But you know, this is actually one of my favorite films from Anthony Hopkins. I love this particular role for him. So, but awesome survival movie. If you've never seen it, I would highly recommend it. It's actually my favorite survival type movie out there. So yeah, check it out if you've never seen it, The Edge. And then I picked up a couple John Woo Blu-rays that I didn't have in my collection yet. Had to get Broken Arrow. This one's pretty cheesy. You know, it's not the greatest action flick, but it's entertaining. And, you know, it's amusing. I guess we could say that. Travolta's pretty amusing in this. Christian Slater is pretty amusing in this. So it's a fun ride, but I wouldn't consider it necessarily one of the better John Woo films. But had to add it to the collection. I was getting some other John Woo titles, so I wanted to make sure that this one was sitting on my shelf alongside those other ones. And then I also picked up Paycheck, another John Woo film, great film from 2003. Stars Ben Affleck, Uma Thurman, Aaron Eckhart. Great film. I think Paul Giamatti's even in this, if I remember right. But this is an awesome film. I find it has a pretty high rewatch factor. This is one I've seen a number of times now, and I don't seem to get sick of it. So just a fun, action-packed ride all the way around. And, you know, it's got a bit of a technological, futuristic element to it as well. But it's, for the most part, just a solid action film. So if you've never seen Paycheck, I would definitely recommend checking it out at some point. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, don't forget to hit that notification bell as well. Activate that notification bell so you can always be alerted when I'm posting videos that you might be interested in. Also, don't forget to like the video as well. It really helps with the channel's visibility out there on YouTube, helps with the algorithm. And thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Okay, so that wraps it up for the Blu-rays, but let's move on to 4K now. And continuing with the John Woo theme, I did pick up Face Off on 4K. Awesome 4K from Kino Lorber. And if you're a fan of this film and you don't have the 4K, I would highly recommend it. It's definitely worth picking up. The transfer looks great. No complaints at all. And just an awesome, you know, classic 90s action film. Nicolas Cage, John Travolta doing their thing. So yeah, Face Off on 4K was one that I was really excited to finally be able to pick up. And I'm glad we finally got this one released on 4K. So yeah, Face Off. I also picked up a couple other Kino Lorber releases during this this period. Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Little Clint Eastwood action, Jeff Bridges, George Kennedy. I gotta be honest, this one, I didn't like this film as much as I thought I would. This was a total blind buy for me, but I'm a big Clint Eastwood fan, right? I had just never gotten around to seeing this particular film, and it was okay. I mean, it was mildly entertaining, but it wasn't quite as good as I was hoping it would be, or at least I didn't think it was as good as, you know, I had hoped. So I think the thing that kind of bugged me about this film a little bit is that I wasn't the biggest fan of Jeff Bridges' character or George Kennedy's character. I really didn't like George Kennedy's character at all. But of course, I always loved Clint. Clint's great in anything, and I don't regret picking this up. It was, you know, fairly entertaining, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. So, so yeah, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. But I mean, the 4K looked great. No complaints about the 4K, you know, restoration at all. I've never seen it, so I don't know what it looked like on a previous Blu-ray. But you know, the 4K here looked solid. I didn't have any complaints about it. So, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. And then the other Kino release I picked up was a film called Suspect Zero. This is a film I feel like this was kind of under the radar a little bit for some people. A lot of people may not be aware of this one. Aaron Eckhart, Ben Kingsley, Carrie-Anne Moss. This is, you know, it's a crime drama, FBI murder investigation type situation. And I won't say anything other than that, but it was really a good film, really well done. And if you've never seen it, I feel like this one doesn't get talked about that much, but it's a new Kino Lorber 4K release. And, you know, I'd recommend checking it out if you're into crime dramas and murder mystery type films like that. And it's a good 4K. The 4K looked pretty solid as well. I mean, it didn't like knock my socks off or anything, but it was certainly a competent 4K transfer. So Suspect Zero. I also picked up the rare Criterion release for me. I don't buy a whole lot of Criterion films. They just, I mean, it's just the way it works out. Most of the films I'm interested in the most have been released by other labels. But occasionally, I will find a Criterion film that I really like. And this one was one such film, One False Move. I've been on a bit of a Bill Paxton kick lately, trying to add more Bill Paxton to my collection, and that was the main draw for this for me. This is a 1991 film. you know, I don't know. It's a crime drama. I think you could call it a crime drama as well. Bit of an action crime drama, but more on the drama side than the action side. But yeah, Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton's in this. Apparently, this was actually co-written by Billy Bob Thornton, so it was a good story and it was intriguing, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So if you've never seen One False Move, I don't want to say too much about the plot. I'll leave that for you guys to look up the synopsis or whatnot. But really good film, well done film, and no complaints at all on this one. I enjoyed it. So yeah, One False Move. Moving on next to a couple Scream Factory releases here. I picked up one I've heard a lot of people praise and talk about, and but I'd never seen it before. It's another one of these blind buys, and that is Night of the Comet. Yeah, and this was pretty decent. You know, I had heard a lot of people say great things about this film. I thought it was okay. It was fairly entertaining to me. I didn't think it was mind-blowing or anything. It didn't do that much for me. The 4K looks really good, you know, as is often the case with Scream Factory releases. You got Catherine Mary Stewart in this. You got Kelly Maroney. And yeah, it's kind of an end-of-the-world apocalypse kind of thing. So yeah, I won't say too much about this one. I did enjoy the film, but I'm not sure this was really an essential release that I needed for my collection. I was just looking for something to get on 4K that I hadn't seen, and I'd heard a lot of people say good things about this one, but it was okay. I didn't dislike it. I didn't dislike it at all. I liked it, but it just was, you know, it didn't blow my mind by any stretch. So yeah, Night of the Comet. Also from Scream Factory, I picked up Upgrade. This one I really liked. Great film. Yeah, really well done. Kind of a high-tech, somewhat sci-fi action type flick. Yeah, it's a good one. I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. I mean, I'd heard good things about it. It's directed by Leigh Whannell. I had heard good things about it going in, but you never really know until you put your own eyes on it, right? So I just had a blast with this one. Really well done film. I could highly recommend this one from Scream Factory. Next up, I got a rare second sight release, and that is The Guest, right? When I say rare, I mean it's rare for me to pick up a second sight release, just because there haven't been that many titles that I felt I just had to have, aside from Dawn of the Dead, right? Well, this had been on my wish list for a while, and I got this as a gift for Christmas, and of course got the nice big chunky box for The Guest here. This was actually a blind buy, or I should say a blind gift. I had never seen this film before, but I had heard great things about it. So, you know, I'd had it on my wish list for a while because I wanted to take a chance on it. But, you know, for a nice set like this, you know, where you get the book and the, you know, the whole 9 yards, Second Sight, of course, always does amazing work on their box sets. Their box sets are some of the best in the industry. So, but when I sat down and actually watched this film, I loved it. It was awesome. Really good suspenseful thriller, I guess. You got Dan Stevens in this. You got Micah Monroe from It Follows. So yeah, I was just really into this flick. This movie had my attention the entire way. I was all smiles the whole time. Just really enjoyed this one. So if you've never seen The Guest, I would highly recommend it. Just a blast. And then, of course, I also got The Warriors, right? I talked about this, I think, in my end-of-year wrap-up video. This was actually my favorite release of the year last year. So just another chunky box set from Arrow. Really enjoyed this release. This release is just awesome. There's a couple things I wanted to show you about this that I didn't show you before when I showed it the last time. So, of course, you get a nice book. You get the Amaray case. But there's something cool in this inside the Amaray case here that I didn't point out last time I was talking about this. And that is they include these decals for all the gangs. And, you know, you get your art cards in here, but you also have, sorry, I'm trying to separate the art cards from the decals. You've got decals for each one of the gangs, right? Very cool. You don't see that a whole lot in even these nice releases, you don't get decals a lot, but this one was, I just thought it was kind of nifty that they included, you know, decals for all the different gangs from the film in there. So, but just yeah, a really great release. Arrow knocked it out of the park, I'd say, with this release. Hang on, I'm putting it back together here. This is all a mess now. You also get a nice thick book with this release. It's got a lot to it. Maybe flip it this way a little bit so you guys can see. It's fairly thick. I'd say maybe 80 pages, I'm guessing. I didn't look at the actual specs to see what the pages were, but yes, great stuff all the way around. Arrow's box set of the Warriors in 4K. And of course, the 4K looks amazing. 4K looks stunning on this. A really good 4K. Like I said, this was my favorite 4K release of the year last year. So you can't go wrong getting something like this. Next up is a 2019 film on 4K, and that is Ip Man 4. Donnie Yen. You know, I have the other 3 Ip Man films, and I really liked them. They're all really good. So I had just needed to pick up this last one. I still haven't watched it yet. I need to check it out. I've seen the other 3, of course, but yeah, this was the only one I hadn't picked up as of our last collection update when we last talked about new pickups. So I had to definitely grab this for the collection. Yeah, looking forward to checking this one out. I have not been disappointed with these films. Great martial arts action films all the way around. So yeah, Ip Man 4. And then, of course, being the big James Cameron fan that I am, I also had to pick up the collector's edition of Avatar. I only got the first one in this nice collector's edition box. I may still pick up Way of Water in this same version, but the main reason I got this is because I wanted the extended versions of the first film on 4K, right? The collector's edition versions of the film. I don't remember what they call them, but what's cool about this is it's a nice hard box. It's super shiny, you know. It's kind of thin, but it's rigid, right? And then you get inside the box, there's a magnetic latch here that kind of holds this together. Gotta put it together like that, and it folds out. Well, got my J card there. My outer J card, but it folds out like this. One of the discs is missing from it because I put that disc in a separate case. The one downside to these new Avatar collector's editions is that, yeah, and it's very cool. The one downside to this collector's edition is that it's a pain in the ass to get the discs out of this thing. They are really wedged in there good. You have to be very careful. And even then, you might get, you know, some smudges or something on your disc that you have to wipe off. So that was the only downside. I don't know what Disney is thinking when they do shit like this. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves is poor disc storage, like in a collector's edition, especially when it's a really nice set like this. You know, you expect the disc to be well stored and well taken care of in these kind of packages, and just that's the downside with this. But aside from that, it's a gorgeous set. And of course, you get tons of bonus features as well. So yeah, Avatar Collector's Edition, had to do it. I also got Basic Instinct on 4K. This looks really good on 4K. It's a Studio Canal 4K. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. Was really impressed with how good it looked on the format. It did not disappoint. So if you're a fan of Paul Verhoeven, if you're a fan of this film, and you don't have it on 4K yet, I would definitely recommend it. It's good stuff. Really good stuff. So I won't say too much about that. This is kind of a classic, isn't it? Right? So yeah, if you don't have it on 4K, pick it up for sure. I mean, I got it because I wanted to add to my Paul Verhoeven collection. But it's just a great film all the way around. And I'm also a big Michael Douglas fan, so had to have it, right? So yeah, Basic Instinct on 4K. Also, a couple more gifts I got here. The Equalizer 3, I got the Steelbook 4K. Another fantastic release. I do think this is one of the better 4Ks that came out last year. It is a stunning, stunning looking film on 4K. Everything is just perfectly crystal clear and just looks immaculate on this release. So if you've never seen The Equalizer 3, I actually think I like the film the best too. Like out of all the Equalizer films, I'm pretty sure number 3 is my favorite. I really enjoyed this film, and I think it was one of the best films that came out last year. So both in terms of 4K presentation and just the movie itself, the substance of the movie itself, great stuff. So yeah, Equalizer 3, and I love the Steelbook on that. The Steelbook art looks really cool. And you guys know I'm not necessarily the biggest Steelbook guy, but I do get them from time to time. And this one I was glad that I had in Steelbook. I also got another Steelbook, Exorcist Believer, which I actually just watched last night for the first time. I hadn't seen this film yet. And, you know, it was okay. I got to be honest, I can understand why people didn't like the film. But I went into this with a really open mind because I like what David Gordon Green did with the Halloween franchise. I actually like his Halloween films. I liked Halloween Ends. I thought it was a pretty good film. It wasn't perfect. It was, you know, it had some flaws, but it was an entertaining film. So I went into Exorcist Believer thinking, you know, I'll probably like it more than other people do because I'm usually entertained by David Gordon Green's work, right? And it started off okay. You know, it was actually fairly entertaining, the first part of the movie, but it kind of went totally off the rails during the third act. And, you know, I got to say, I was not impressed with what they did with it. I expected them to be able to do a little bit more with this, to do better than what they actually did. I expected David Gordon Green to give us a little bit better movie than he did. So I'm beginning to understand why he was taken off the project. If, you know, I don't know if he quit or was fired, but I can understand now if he was fired or was asked to leave the project. I can certainly understand why now. So I don't know if this is something I'll watch that many more times in my life or not, but I'm a big fan of The Exorcist. I like The Exorcist 3 as well. So, you know, I'm glad I have it in my collection. I'm very curious to see what they do next, if they're going to do anything else with this series, or if they're just going to, you know, call it one and done and you know, be done with it. You know, it'll be curious because they spent a lot of money. Blumhouse spent a lot of money for the rights to The Exorcist. Wasn't it like $400 million or something? It was some crazy amount. So I'm curious to see what they plan to do next without David Gordon Green, if they plan anything. So, Exorcist Believer on Steelbook. I also got another Cronenberg film here from Vinegar Syndrome. I got eXistenZ during this time. I think I did talk about this during my 2023 year-end wrap-up video, so I won't say too much about this. Great release from Vinegar Syndrome. Looks fantastic. No complaints at all about the 4K restoration. This is just awesome. So, and of course, you know, Vinegar Syndrome is always good about giving you nice, amazing packaging. You know, you got the chunky box that has this nice textured feel to it, feels almost leathery. So yeah, eXistenZ, David Cronenberg film from Vinegar Syndrome. Definitely had to pick that up when they first announced it. Also another Vinegar Syndrome release here. I picked up The Prophecy, the Christopher Walken films. This is one of those cool split diagonal designs where the lid comes off like that. And then, of course, you have a slip-covered Amaray case inside, and all 3 films are included in this set. So, yeah, I was pleased to pick this up. This was actually a blind buy. I had never seen any of the Prophecy films. So far, I've only had a chance to watch the first one, and I did like it. I thought it was pretty fun. But I haven't had the chance to watch the sequels yet at all. I'm looking forward to checking out the other 2 as well. Just have to wait until I'm in the right mood for it. But The Prophecy, 1 through 3, box set on 4K, yeah, I definitely had to pick that up. I'm a big Christopher Walken fan, so that was the big selling point for me. Even though I'd never seen the films before, I do like Christopher Walken. And I like Eric Stoltz as well, who's in the first one. So yeah, just a cool release. Glad I picked it up. All right, moving on to my last 2 here. I did pick up Bloodsport on 4K. Another one I talked about in my year-end wrap-up video. The 4K on this looks fantastic. I'd highly recommend it. This is an import, but this one is in English. Those of you who are interested. The text of the media book is printed in English. So that isn't always the case with some of these releases put out by certain German companies. But yeah, just an awesome 4K. If you haven't seen Bloodsport, you definitely got to check it out. It's a great martial arts action flick, right? And of course, you got Bolo Young in this, who was awesome. So yeah, I just really enjoyed this. I think the 4K is stunning, and I can highly recommend it to anybody who is wondering whether they should upgrade to 4K. I can definitely attest to it being a solid 4K restoration and a vast improvement over the Blu-ray I have. So yeah, Bloodsport. And then the last one here, Opera on 4K from Dario Argento. Another nice thick box. Apparently Severin Films is going to be putting out a US release of this at some point, or at least that's what I've heard, the rumors that they're working on that. But I didn't want to wait for a potential Severin Films release. I wanted this thing on 4K right away. And when I saw the packaging on this, the nice chunky box set, I just had to get it, right? And it quickly went to the top of my 4K wish list for Christmas, right? So I got this one as a gift. I was super excited to get my hands on this. And I can say that the 4K does not disappoint on this. The 4K looks amazing. And so yeah, if you're a big Dario Argento film, you have some of his other titles on 4K, this is one I would definitely recommend adding to your collection. And that about wraps it up for everything I picked up on Blu-ray and 4K over the last couple months. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you pick up any of these titles recently yourself? If not, which titles look interesting to you? Which ones are on your wish list? I always love chatting with you guys, so make sure you leave some feedback down below. Also, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.